every city you burn, I'm gonna build one high.
Greetings, fellow Empyreans. It is I, Ashtarothi, the voice of New Eden, and it is October 3rd, YC125, and that means it's Spooky Month! This is the Eve Universe Show! Welcome, welcome, welcome. Today, it is, in fact, the beginning of Spooky Month, and therefore, we are going to be talking about the Blood Raider Covenant. Later this week, we should be getting Crimson Harvest, and in fact, the beginnings of Crimson Harvest has already begun. If you look at the patch notes for today, while it does say that the Crimson Harvest is coming, announced last on the 29th, but today's patch notes reads that the character select screen has been updated for Crimson Harvest, but also more importantly, the 90% drop rate for Crimson Harvest is now on already. So even though we don't have the sites yet, be advised, drop rate of loot and equipment, or like cargo and modules and everything off of a ship is now at 90% instead of the regular 50%. This means that every major ganking area, like for most people, when they're ganking, there's a cost-benefit analysis, right? How much they have to pay in catalysts or taloses or whatever it is that they use, versus how much they think that you're going to drop. So with a 90% drop rate instead of the regular 50%, that means a significant increase in it changes their calculus. They can assume that they're only going to have 10% of the material lost rather than 50% of the material lost. So yes, ganking month has begun. However, there's another half to this. It says PvP kills. However, and I don't have any reason to believe this is otherwise, historically, that is actually meant... Oh no. Hold on. Also, what... Okay, everybody, come on. I'm trying to do a show. Nope, don't run now. All right, fine. Made it safely past the green screen. Okay. Whew. Speaking of getting ganked, the show's getting ganked. Anywho, also so this means that all player losses are going to be 90% instead of 50%. This actually means that if you lose a ship in PvE, right? If you're experimenting with some sort of PvE or whatever, like for instance, if you're doing these new wormhole sites or whatever, if you lose a ship, there's a 90% drop rate now. So you can probably recover a lot of that stuff. However, it also means that if somebody wants to gank a really expensive ship, they can assume that they're going to get those modules a lot more. What do you want? Nope. This is what happens. This is what happens when you do this while I'm recording. This is what happens. Yep. This is what happens. Say hi to everybody. You're such a fat cat. That cat used to be... That cat was so skinny when I first got her. Anywho, yeah, not so much in Abyssals. Although, theoretically, if somebody lost a frigate in the Abyssal, then the other groups within the... Or the other members could theoretically loot them and get a bunch of their stuff. So, yeah. The trash goblin. The Deathless continues to gain influence and mastery over the system of Zarzak and has erected Deathless Retribution emplacements around the ancient Jovian Stargates, the Fulcrum, and the Deathless construction site at the gun. So at the Sun, these new missile batteries based on base sentry towers will attack any capsuleer with Retribution timer in their presence. The emplacements will also have a limited amount of electronic warfare ability and will paint and attempt to break the locks of ships which incur their wrath. So, when I saw these in Hobo Leaks originally, they are destructible. This doesn't read like they're going to be, or that they are destructible. A retribution timer is when you attack somebody that you're not allowed to in Zarzak, which up until now has been largely ignorable. But it's like their equivalent of the wonder if Thera is safe to travel through. Well, I mean, occasionally it can get bubbled, but other than that, I mean, I've, knock on wood, always gotten pretty lucky with it. But so these things will target paint and jam the target. Oh, they are technically destructible. It just takes a lot of people to kill them. There you go. Yeah, so this is the equivalent of gate and station guns in Zarzak. Okay, this is the first step. So this does actually lead me to a question, which is like, so with this power-up thing, guys, I need you guys to help me out, because I think I'm being gaslit. Okay? Like, for reals. Cat, what is going on, man? Why are you doing this today? You're supposed to be the good one. You're supposed to be the good one. All right, whatever. Is it? What? Hold on. Nope, shouldn't be. No attention is being given to the cat, therefore demands. Yes, yeah. Okay, so I feel like CCP is gaslighting me. When they first talked about turning in the elements, it explicitly said that you would get standings, which would be important, or could potentially be important when you turn it in. Am I wrong? Did I dream this? Was this a fever dream? Please, somebody verify. Must have been you. Well, that's the thing. Oh. I think that it also is... no. So that I need to know... I'm so confused, because I am reasonably sure... You only heard about the tokens. When I read the thing... Right. And so the first idea said that you would get standings with the Angels of the Garistas, and then that got undone, or that was not true. And then what I had heard was that it was standings with the Deathless. But now I go back and I find no evidence of any of this. Okay. So I'm not crazy. I'm just wrong, and most of yesterday was wasted. Got it. Okay, well, you know. Fair enough. So today I was going to do the exploration sites, or we were thinking about that since we were doing that last week. But here's the thing. If there is no standings, then all this is to get the new BC, or the new destroyers ahead of time, right? Like there's no turn in this many to complete powering up the Fulcrum. There's no top rewards, I don't think. It's just literally just, do you want ISK or do you want Deathless Loyalty tokens? And so I'm a lot less... I'm not sure people are going to be wanting to bend over backwards in order to make some of this stuff happen. That said, I did do a Drifter Hive Fleet this weekend, and we are going to be doing another Drifter Hive Fleet in the next couple of days, such that we can start doing Drifter Hive Fleets more frequently in order to get elementals, or the elements and the BPCs. Because, boy, there's a lot to talk about when it comes to actually how those Drifter Hives work and all the pieces of it. And I definitely need to get all my ducks in a row before I do like a breakdown of it all. So this week we're going to do some experiments with that and see what I can figure out. And then hopefully we'll be able to get something else done with that. That said, this also means that doing Angel Cartel and Garistas epic arcs might be even more important, because that is a good way to get standings. Yes, of course, Dutch Gun. And honestly, so yesterday I finally managed to get an element, like a full, all three pieces, by a bunch of work and cajoling and no little amount of guilt tripping the hell out of certain people, until finally I got one and turned it in and turned in the token, and was very sad when I got no standings. But apparently that's not a bug. Boo-boo, I'm a fool. So, yeah, it is a good idea for us to get our standings up. To that end, I do not feel that it is wise for me to try to do an epic arc in nullsec while streaming. So, I'm going to record it. And we'll put up a video of it probably by the end of the week, showing you guys how to do the epic arc and do missions for the Angels Cartel, now that we have Zarzak to be able to get out there really easily. Yeah, I think I looked at the very, very beginning because, of course, I'm always on it right at the very beginning. And then the second day, we didn't really get around to doing the site, so I didn't really talk about it as much. And so just it never got corrected. Well, so the thing about both the Angels and the Garistas is that their epic arcs, if you can, there's like multiple ways to start their epic arcs depending on who you have standings with. Like you gotta have standings with Mimitar, Amar, or the Dominations in order to start the Angel epic arc. So you can actually have, we had -10 with Angels, but I had enough standings with the Amar that I was able to bootstrap my way into it, and I got like down to -4 in one set of the epic arc. So now, you know, a couple of storyline missions later, and I'm good to go. Oh, Urschlag did it today? Well, there you go. Go watch his thing. I'm still going to do it. Just for the invited, if nothing else. Is that derived standings? No. Hold on. Where is it? So here you can see this was the first turn-in of the epic arc. Oh, wait, no. Yeah, of the epic arc. And that was shared between 3 people. And then this was the other turn-in of the epic arc, and it was shared between 2 people. So, yeah, brought me to base -422. Oh, phooey. I'm hiding it. Hold on. Yeah. So this is the first one, which was 3. That was an epic fail. I tried to fast forward. Fast forward to when Ash figures it out. Good job. And then, so this is the first one at plus 1.25, and this is the second one at plus 1.875. And so I'm now, I wasn't at -10 actually, now that I think about it. I was at -4.5. I didn't actually go that far, but -10 to lower is actually a lot easier to go up, I think. Hey, what's up, Punchinello? I could just talk really fast if that helps. Just got into Eve like 3 months ago. Been a real challenge. Enjoyed the game, done the basics. Joined the Horde, and I kind of feel like I fell off now. Don't have anything to do. You know, that's honestly, I found that experience. Did you move into nullsec? Because like every time I've ever gone to nullsec, I've gotten that feeling. That is one of the reasons why I don't really appreciate nullsec that much. Because it's like, okay, yeah, you could rat if you want to or whatever, but maybe if there's something disrupting it, you can't even do that. If there's not a fleet going on, So what I suggest is explore other avenues of space that might allow less work to be prepared, or to be able to do things. And especially as a newer pilot, like, don't chase the best thing. You know, chase different experiences, because that's how you're going to learn the most. I had the same experience with joining Horde initially. I joined HiSec Corp for a while and found my rhythm again, going back to nullsec. Yeah, that's a good idea. Faction warfare is really great. Joining the Invited and taking part in the new upcoming stuff is great. The Crimson Harvest should be starting probably on Thursday. So it would be a really good idea for you to get prepared for that. To that end, let's go ahead and jump back into our little story. Or let's jump into our little story. I guess I haven't really talked about it yet. Where are we? Okay. But yeah, I mean, while with it no longer being a big, like, if you can't get standings through this and there's no objective reason to turn in the elements to the Deathless, I mean, we're definitely going to still support it because us as the invited, even on if it's just an RP level, want to participate and help out. But I'm not going to push and enable as many people as possible to get involved with it because it doesn't, like, if you want a blueprint, then that's really good. So instead, I wanted to focus today on the Crimson Harvest, which is the actual event that we're getting this month. Yes, the Crimson Harvest, the loot drop portion of it is on now, but the event portion of it is not on now. Yes, the invited are supporting the Angel Cartel and the Deathless, so you can consider them pirates. All right, let us begin with a nursery rhyme. Bloody Omer ran away, hiding from the light of day, made a base out in the night, far, far from the Empire's might. Holders think that they are safe, protected by the Emperor's grace. Silly people, they should know, you shall reap just what you sow. Bloody Omir's coming back, monsters from the endless black. Wading through a crimson flood, Omir's come to drink your blood. All right, so Bloody Omer and the Blood Raiders. That's where we were at. We begin, or the next thing is... Good night, yes, exactly, sweet dreams. So, who is this man? And what are these people that drive such a fear into the heart of every Amarian child? Every seat in the passenger cabin was occupied, the occupants sitting so peacefully one could believe that they were napping, if it weren't for the fact that each and every one of them had been completely drained of blood. The same fate had befallen the rest of the crew. Even the captain in his capsule was now only a dry husk. News like this can now be heard in almost every week in some remote region near or within Amar space. The perpetuators are commonly called the Blood Raiders, aptly named for their habit of draining their victims of blood and taking it with them. Okay, and the Blood Raiders are part of an ancient cultist faction known as the Sani Sabek, meaning blood friends. The cult first appeared thousands of years ago on Amar Prime, long before space travel came into being. The cult was based on a schismatic sect of the Amar state religion, which advocated that some people were born into greatness, while others only lived to feed and breed these geniuses. To this cult added the obsessions with the Amarian elite, the holders, about eternal life, so that the result of the cult was so pervasive and destructive that the Amar authorities immediately stamped down upon it. But the cult lived in the shadows, every so often mutating itself anew. At one point in their history, they started using blood in their gruesome rituals. Until then, they had only used blood in the initiation ritual, but now it had become the focal point of their supposed search for eternal youth. So, I'm going to actually jump a little bit, because here's the thing. We have the Blood Raiders, and we have the Sani Sabek. Not all Sani Sabek are Blood Raiders, but pretty much all Blood Raiders, I'm pretty sure all Blood Raiders are Sani Sabek. So what does this mean? It really goes back... Did I even put it up? No. So it really goes back to the early Amar Empire and the history of the reclaiming. We've talked about this before, but basically, when the Amar used their faith to stay together as everyone was descending into the Dark Ages, right? They had been beaten back and had hidden away on this big island that they named Amar, and they had kept their faith together throughout all of this time with these records and their religion, so that when they encountered the Eudorians, the exchange of culture that came with the trade of the Eudorians was a threat to the holders or the powers that be within the Amarian religion at the time. The theocracy, the idea that like, well, there are actually people that exist that don't believe this religion, that we are the chosen people of God. And therein locked in kind of the theology of the Amarian people, which is that once upon a time, there was a cataclysmic event, that before this event, everyone in the cluster was Amarian. Everyone was united by God as one people, and everyone knew their place. However, this cataclysmic event shattered the people and their contact with one another. We can only suspect that this would be like their records of the Eve Gate collapsing, and that corruption spread throughout the throughout the peoples, until finally the only group that remained pure, true, and uncorrupted was in fact themselves, the pure-blooded Amar on Amar Island. That is their faith. And therefore, everyone else in the cluster are wayward children. That the universe is meant to be all united in Amar. But since they are the only ones who remained holy, it is them who shall be the higher echelons in this new order created by God. And it is them who are sacred and chosen by God now to lead this crusade. This is the theory behind the Amarian religion. This is not the wrong screen. We're working on this. So, from this religion in the early days, before they've even created space travel, they took this idea, right? So there's two central dogmas that was stolen or borrowed from the Amarian religion that was warped into what's known as the Sani Sabek religion. The one was that certain people are born destined for greatness, while all others serve solely to serve. All others exist solely to serve and to breed these servants or savants. And the second was that immortality was attainable by the savants. So while the Amar believed that the chosen ones of Amar could achieve immortality through their piety and whatnot, then the Sani Sabek believed that any of these savants, the chosen ones or whatever within their own religion, they were on a path towards becoming one of these savants, becoming immortal yourself. So this idea of immortality, and more importantly, the idea that the promises of the Amar Empire was available to basically anyone as long as you were able to rise up and become one of these savants, was incredibly attractive to people, right? So they believed that through ritual, they could become one of these savants, even if they weren't a holder ahead of time. So they begin this offshoot of orthodoxy in which the religion grows and mutates, and the commoners viewed the concept of savant as something that transcended traditional caste divisions, while holders eagerly promoted themselves as savants and sought to extend their own lives through rituals. However, over time, this mutated. They became more and more divergent until this idea of the purity of the blood, that the power is in the blood, begins to become one of the major driving forces and differences between the Sani Sabek and the then Amar, the Amar Empire's or the Amar people's religion. And this culminates when the idea of the blood ritual begins. So eventually this sect begins using blood in their rituals and turned to grisly practices to acquire it. Criminals, slaves, and even commoners were sacrificed in the name of purification and immortality. The cult had gained such notoriety that its existence began to threaten the orthodoxy and the religious and religiously based power of the emperor itself, who ordered the cult exterminated. So there you go. They went too far. They began to threaten the powers that be. And it is then that the Sani Sabek learned what the Eudorians did, which is that the powers that be are very, very, how could I say it? They're not really interested in losing their power. So instead, they call them heretics and begin an extermination process. The Inquisitions begin to oppress the Sani Sabek, and they go into hiding for a few thousand years. Then, once the Amar fully take over the planet and take to the stars, a couple things happen. One, a small group of the Sani Sabek had created cryoships, and they flee from the Amarian Empire and settle in the Ares constellation. This is known as the Takmal Empire, as one of the ancient empires that are used in the Cosmos Agents. And while they did grow to technological heights that were well outside of even the Amar Empire, the extreme religion of the Takmal people basically consumed itself, and the empire fell. However, other cults then began to spread out. You know, as space travel became more and more viable, and as the Amar became an ever-sprawling empire, it became an attractive thing for these cultists to flee out of known areas and kind of hide in the fringes where they were less likely to be, you know, killed by inquisitors. In fact, they even spread as far as the Gallente Federation. Okay? Which, of course, all of this would have been fine. There would have been so there's all these little cults that have these different religion, you know, faiths or beliefs that are a little bit different, but it basically boils down to, why is my phone exploding? Whatever. It basically boils down to this idea of the ritual of the blood and the power that comes from it. Followers view blood as the essence of life and spirituality and believe that it is mystical powers. The exact nature of these powers and how the blood is used differs widely between sects. So, but there is one other piece to this that is incredibly important, which is that idea of immortality, right? The idea of our death is something that would haunt most people. And so this promise of immortality, this is the key promise of the Amar religion, after all. And therefore, you know, by kind of bringing forth the idea that, oh, we've gotten a hack to get to this promised immortality. But even further than that, you know, even for the faithful that don't want to believe in all of the religious mumbo jumbo of it all, they do in fact have a concept, it's not here, called the Book of the Dead. Okay? And so the name of every person, every Sani Sabek, is written in this Book in the Dead. And so it's a promise that as long as any of the Sani Sabek remains, the Book of the Dead will remain. And also that kind of brings back to the name of Sani Sabek, which means blood seed. Okay? So this is kind of the religion in which Omir emerges. Okay? In comes Omir. Born in the year 47 YC, much of Omir's early life has been shrouded in secrecy, misdirection, and mythologization. That's a word. Mythologization? No, I'm not even going to try it. It's somewhere in there. The Blood Raiders and Omir himself has alternately claimed that he was a virgin birth from the Empress consort Sabiana, a seraphim sent by God to transform the worthy, a former holder who saw the light and converted to the Sani Sabek faith, or simply a commoner who gained power and seized control of the Blood Raiders through violence. To what extent his followers and Omir believe the mangled stories is up for debate. Investigators from Concord, however, have pieced together an incomplete but apparently factual picture of his years prior to becoming a leader of the Blood Raiders. It seems likely that Omir was born early in YC 47 to a high-class escort named Manda Saracusa. Manda, who had a Caldari father, was reportedly exceptionally beautiful and plied her trade among the rich and amoral members of Amar nobility who lived at the edges of what was then considered lawless space. Manda claimed Omir's father was an Amar noble named Vadalis Mamaya, the third child a third child considered unlikely to receive much an inheritance from his father. At the time of Omir's birth, Vodalis had joined the priesthood, and acknowledgement of the child with a prostitute would have brought extreme shame on both him and his family. Because of this, Omir never met his father. Amanda was forced to raise him alone. She continued to work as an escort, often leaving Omir in the care of other prostitutes who were not working. So, you know, good family upbringing. From early on, Omir reportedly displayed psychopathic tendencies, often getting into fights with other children, having callous disregard for life, and committing petty crimes for seemingly no reason. Really, no reason. Okay. No father, raised by prostitutes that aren't your mother because she's off being a prostitute and, like, messing with all of the... Okay, whatever, no reason at all. Records indicate that as a child she was arrested. There's probably should be some, like, content warning on this stream as opposed to some of my others. Anyway, whatever. Indicate that as a child, he was arrested numerous times for shoplifting random items and once killing a man's pet slaver hound by feeding it coffee, slavers being highly allergic to caffeine. However, this punishment for these incidents seemed to have been light, with his mother using her earnings from prostitution to pay the victims off. In YC64, Omir apparently stabbed and killed an older child, knowing that she could no longer protect her son through bribery. Manda gave him a large sum of money and sent him away into the Blood Raiders-controlled territory of the Bleaklands, where she served many clients in the past. Okay, so Omir quickly fell into one of the fractured Blood Raider cults, which was based out of Satogas in the early years. He served mainly as a runner, but his violent tendencies quickly endeared him to his superiors. He became an enforcer for the sect, brutally torturing those who earned its ire. Eventually, he was serving as the personal bodyguard of the sect's leader. So, like, his psychopathic tendencies of wanting to, like, hurt people, he just figures out a way, like, through the Blood Raiders, they just kind of enable that. Or, well, at least from the Sanasabex cults. So he really finds a home with these people. By YC75, Omir had been introduced to the highest mysteries of the cult and was considered a high priest. This gave Omir control of his own ship, which he used to raid not only nearby Amar holders, but other Blood Raider sects as well. Omir's bloody and ruthless raids gathered him much loyalty as his followers among the cultists in this area. Under the discretion of his superiors, Omir cowed to the other Blood Raider sects and forced them to submit to his cult. This is actually an interesting point, which is that it might be somewhere else, but, like, one of the big things here was that the Sani Sabek was a relatively small, like, they were a fringe cult, and lots of little fringe cults, a lot of disparate groups that have been scattered across the cluster. And as such, these aren't the most wealthy and powerful groups of people. These are people that are usually hiding. And so a lot of the Sani Sabek were planet dwelling. So the idea that he has his own ship, not only does that, is that a sign of him being a high priest and therefore very big in the within the Sani Sabek, but just having your own ship puts you in a position of power. It's like when King Kamehameha, conquers the Hawaiian Islands. He has the superior technology, and so he just kind of is able to use that against everybody. So here we have Omir with ruthlessness and a ship manages to begin to pull together these disparate cults. In YC 80, Omir conducted a raid on the Amar monastery of Mehira, which housed 5,000 monks and 10,000 slaves. The slaves who were controlled via Vitok were slaughtered wholesale, while the majority of the monks were captured to take off into blood farms. Only a small number of monks were killed in the assault, among them Vodalis Momaya. It is unknown if Omir was aware of his father's presence prior to the raid, or if it was simply a coincidence. After this raid, however, Omir became more defiant against his superiors. He often conducted unauthorized raids and became more and more brash with his affiliation with the Blood Raiders. A failed assassination attempt against Omir in YC-83 was apparently carried out on the orders of the sect's leadership. In response, Omir engineered a coup against the Blood Raiders. His years of carnage had earned him a fearsome reputation even among the other Blood Raiders, many of whom supported his usurpation of leadership. Omir named himself the chosen messiah of the Blood Raiders, claiming to be a perfect being to which all Sunny Sobek aspired. So let's look a little bit more into that. The sex-guiding belief was that some people were born for greatness and other people led to breed and serve the exalted few. To this, they added the obsession with eternal life that permeates the upper tiers of the Amarian elite. At some on okay. This doesn't actually talk about the formation of the... Oh, here we go. Nope. That is all at his blood after Sarasuka takes over. Or Saracusa? Yeah, Saracusa. Let's see. I don't see any other information per se about what goes in between there. But so by this point, the Blood Raiders had actually formed, but Omir was integral in like bringing them all together, right? So by the end of YC84, Omir had successfully eliminated all rivals within the Blood Raiders. He immediately conducted a purge on the organization, having anyone showing a hint of disloyalty blooded. What does blooding mean? Blooding. While not really ritualized, the process of blooding is very important to the Blood Raiders as it involves monitoring vital signs while their sterilized containers fill up with their donor's blood. Blooding is usually conducted on board of a captured ship with equipment moved across for its purposes. Though rare, a crew may be asked to leave in the middle of a blooding with the replacement crew coming to finish the job. So basically drained of all blood. Are we doing general history? Or does this relate to something? This is more general history, but it's related to the fact that the Crimson Harvest is coming up. So trying to understand who these guys are. All right. Omir reigned with a bloody fist. Bloody iron fist. Ha. Oh, wait, sorry. His first order of business was to reverse the Blood Raiders' long-standing policy of targeting children in their raids. Instead, he declared clones to be the purest blood, and the Raiders began to target cloning facilities and individuals who had been cloned. Because the capsule and the clone had not been joined at that time, these raids primarily hit medical facilities where clones were just stored for experimentation and organ harvesting, putting strain on the area's healthcare. Omir reigned with a bloody iron fist, turning the formerly fractured Blood Raider sect into a unified and powerful organization. Within a few years, they had held de facto sovereignty over several systems in the Bleaklands. Even Concord considered the areas the territory of the Raiders. The Blood Raiders were annually responsible for tens of thousands of deaths in the region, and the influence was such that they were able to send patrols in locations as distant as Arydia and Divoolej. Holders in this area pleaded for their protection from the empires, or to the right to raise their own naval forces to protect themselves, but were frequently denied by the Emperor. That's where the children's story comes from. I think that they are going to be the same as last year. Exsanguinated. Yeah, that's true. That they are exsanguinated. That is the term. Okay. As this infamy spread, Omir's name became the boogeyman for Amar children across the Empire. The Empire declared him the most wanted heretic, though it was unwilling to provide military resources to assault the Bleaklands and capturing him. For over 2 decades, Omir's rule in the Bleaklands remained unchallenged. Then, in YC106, so 2004, a Jovian ambassador decides to attempt to teleport between all of the different empires at the same time, or within one day, right? So, hold on, let me see if I can pull that part up. Yeah, shortly after Fatal was killed in the battle over the Krieler project and cloaking, just a couple months later, where is it? Yeah, here we go. Plans for the restoration of the blah, 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 blah. That's Amar stuff. A rare initiative from the Jovian Directorate started off as one of the more unusual incidents of the year, announcing that Misu Banyaya, a Jove ambassador, would be the diplomatic liaison with the 4 major empires and other factions. The Jove amazed New Eden by declaring that their representative would visit all of the faction leaders in the space of 1 hour, with the method of achieving this miracle discovered to be a matter transmission device. Amazement turned to horror when the device malfunctioned, scattering the Jove ambassador across the cluster in tens of thousands of pieces. In the aftermath, Tunai Moran, Jove ambassador to Concord Assembly, revealed that Misu Banaya's brain scan had not been completed before his disintegration, resulting in a faulty clone activation. The four empires swiftly offered to assist the Jovian Directorate when it made clear that the Jove possessed the means to reconstruct Misu Banaya if sufficient fragments of his body could be recovered. It was soon discovered that the pieces of Banaya had appeared on stations across New Eden cluster, and the empires began to buy the Jove parts on the market. So remember, if you've watched the either my old the lore panel that I was in or the emerging threats trailer, you can hear me talking about like, well, maybe these were the ones looking for the Jovian body parts. So when the drifters were first showing up, Highland Tukos puts out a broadcast on the in-game forum or in-character forums asking for the Jovian body parts. This is like, of course, 2015, so over a decade later. And then it turned out that that was somebody mimicking Highland Tukos. So we assumed that it might have been the drifters or whatever. So there was a lot of speculation as to why this entity or whatever it was trying to get these body parts. But even before that, it actually turned out that there was another group that was really, really interested in it. The Blood Raiders. Blood Raiders to start collecting Jovian body parts in mass. Sources within the Blood Raider Covenants have revealed that their leader, Omir Sarakuza, has commissioned his followers to start collecting Jovian body parts, making it their primary priority. Concord had put the forces close to the Blood Raider space on high alert, and they expect escalation with raiding activity into Empire space. However, Concord authorities stress the spacefarers should not be excessively alarmed, as the Blood Raiders are only expected to make small-scale runs into Empire space with specific targets in mind. Thus, activity should only increase within Blood Raider space as their ships carrying liberated body parts. So they start hunting after the body parts for themselves. Blood Raiders' complete body part collection. Omir Sarakuza, leader of the Blood Raiders, has called a halt to the Jovian body part collection as he urged followers upon a few days ago. Despite severe competition with other pilots for the spoils, the Blood Raiders have collected a sizable portion of the body of the hapless Misu Banyaya. Omir Sarakuza has gathered all the parts under his control at his hideout, carefully stored it as if for a long journey. Intelligence agencies monitoring the Blood Raiders have reported that many of Sarakuza's top lieutenants has assembled in their most powerful vessels at the hideout, their cargo hold stuffed filled with the valuable items. Concord estimates that the Blood Raiders lost several hundred vessels over the last few days, forcing them to now lay low and lick their wounds. The frenzied body part harvesting may be over, but the Blood Raider space returning back to normal. But something is brewing under the surface for sure. Something worth sacrificing hundreds of ships for. However, there was never an answer as to what this thing was that I can think of. So, this was 2004. Leaders of the dreaded Blood Raiders had shielded themselves from the outside world following their mass-scale collection of body parts in recent days. Omir Sarakuza had ordered all of his top lieutenants to stay with him in his secret hideout base deep within the Blood Raider space, as the last steps are being taken to complete preparations for a scheme involving the body parts. He does this to make sure that no information regarding this scheme leaks out too early. Though the Blood Raiders sustained heavy losses from fellow collectors, the Blood Raider elite is upbeat about the future, believing that great things lie ahead for them. While many idly speculate what evil plans Sarakuza is hatching, D&D does not have the luxury to take this lightly, and sending scouting parties into Blood Raider space trying to find Sarakuza's hidden citadel. Time is running out, and D&D officials have indicated that all possible avenues are being exploited to thwart Sarakuza and his comrades in crime. But the weird thing about this is that I can't find any follow-up to this story. I can't. So if anybody knows, like, what happened from here, if there was, like, a grand thing revealed, I couldn't find anything. The next big thing that I see from the Blood Raiders is a different statement. 1 year later, the Blood Raiders, in a coded message released to all major news agencies this morning, Omir Sarakuza, leader of the notorious Blood Raider Covenant, claimed responsibility for the kidnapping of Ekarin Mitumi. I'm going to be disrespectful if I try to pronounce that. Wife of outlaw scientist Ulia that same last name. Accompanying the messages were images of a woman, later confirmed by the state sources as Mrs. Her, being subjected to blooding, the ritual of draining the blood, which constitutes the focal point of the Covenant's highly controversial religious practices. Furthermore, Sarakusa stated that Blood Raiders were now in control of the Inserum prototype and more than willing to use it as a strike at the heart of our enemy. The Empire's infidel will cower in the palaces tonight, for their foundations are about to be shaken. It is time for the fall of Amar. So this leads to the Inserum attacks. I'm not actually sure if this is 100% the right thing. But basically, at this time, the Blood Raiders use Inserum to attack major colonies as a way of attempting to initiate rebellions. Mabin 1 in the Throne World constellation was struck by disaster, and the unknown aerosol was released into the atmosphere above Hemlock Field. An aggression of slave colonies that stretch, an aggregation of slave colonies that stretches across one of the planet's continents and represents one of the single largest indentured worker habitats in the Amar Empire. The 14 orbit breacher vessels distributing the aerosols were swiftly shot down by regional detachments of Mabnan Air Force, but the damage had already been done. The planet's strong surface winds had caught the toxins and would, within minutes, distribute it throughout most of the colony's vast territories. 8 minutes after the orbit breachers had been shot down and the crisis thought to have been averted, 2 of Hemlock Field's 12 colonies were in flames. News cameras have since caught footage of Amarian guards' disembodied heads staked out of the parapets girding the guard fortress of the colony belonging to the Holden Terror Cador. Other colonies, too, suffered the great upheaval. At 10:08 EVT, roughly 30 minutes after the initial attack, 7 of the 12 colonies had suffered complete radio communications blackout. Military forces were called in at that point, and at the time of going to press, pitched battles were being fought between the Mabnan army squadrons and the insurgents, most of whom were reportedly armed with little more than stones and tools. 4 of the colonies had been hit with airstrikes. Casualties numbers are unknown at this time. Omir Sarakusa, leader of the Blood Raider Covenant, at exactly 12 noon today, released a statement to the media claiming full responsibility for the attack and stating that, quote, today's exercise was merely the beginning. The complacent giant is about to fall. At Inserum shall be the knife in its stomach. He furthermore went on to thank Loyalist Capsuleers Corporation, Blood Inquisition, and their associates for their discreet and professional aid in transporting large quantities of the drug to the site of the attack. Neither the Emperor nor the Imperial Chancellor has released any form of statement at this time, as of time of going to press, but Emperor Corazor is known to be sitting in council with some of his top advisors. A statement is expected either later today or tomorrow. So then, so that was a pretty disruptive thing that they did. I am going to be leaving out, I'm not going over every single event in Blood Raider history. Basically anything that amounts to Blood Raiders rated, I'm not going to, I'm going to be cutting back on, I guess. But then in 2008, YC110, this is actually kind of the culmination of the Empyrean Age and the rise of power of Jamil Sorum. I'm not going to like jump too much into this, but the Blood Raiders were also really connected to this. The big thing to know is that the court chamberlain who was trying to seize power during that whole time period ended up being closely tied to the Blood Raiders. He's the guy who actually ended up sending the Amarian dude. Oh gosh, what's his name? Anhar, I think, or somebody. Either way, the Blood Raider that ends up chasing the SOE during the World on Fire series, you know, about the YC125 disaster, that exact dude, that captain, was sent to the Blood Raiders by Karsoth. But in 2010, in 2008, YC110, Karsoth was revealed for his true treachery, and he fled to Blood Raider space, where he was later apprehended. And then there's some stuff about the bloody, like there's a lot of information that starts to come out at this time, and a lot of research and understanding about the bloody Sani Sabic religion. Antar, thank you. This is the first of a series of articles attempting to explore the truth of the possibility of the most confusing factions of the Sani Sabic. What makes a Blood Raider Blood Raider? What's the difference between a Blood Raider and a Sani Sabic? So how do you know if you're a Sani Sabic in the making, or if you're off on a completely wrong foot? The reporter strapped on her rubber apron and went looking for answers from someone who knows. Mebrithil Juin. Miss Juin described herself as not exactly a teacher of the Sani Sabic, but as someone who is respected among many sects for her depth of research and strength of will. This later appeared to be a very important quality of the Sani Sabic, the young Sebaster explained. It's true. One of the biggest qualities of the Sani Sabic is like strength, tenacity, like this idea of like no weakness, strong will, ferocity. These are things that they actually cultivate as a religion. Sani Sabic has many core principles, to be honest. Firstly, there is the divinity of will, or to break it down, the idea that the strong of will and a person should lead the rest. So that's where their savants come from, right? Those who are strong enough to lead shall lead. Those who are not shall serve. What this comes down to is usually a hierarchical structure, not unlike the Amar Empire, but with the right people in the right places. Secondly, there's a search for eternal life. This is an old difference that, from my research in ancient texts, is probably one of the sole principles that separated Sani Sabic from the original Amar faith. Finally, Sani Sabic believes in the strength of blood, a biological indicator that ties in both the previous principles and is espoused in various formats throughout each cult. The Blood Raider Covenant, Omir's lot, takes the more literal path. One cry shade follows quite closely, as do I. Then there's the strength of blood that it takes Then there's the strength blood has on your destiny and ability. A route I believe Miss Nephris takes to heart. These then are the point of commonality between the sects. But what quality do they look for in a member? Miss Juin had this to say. Being a pod pilot is almost a deity. We have immortality in our reaches and this control of the stars, but every pilot does. In Sani Sabic, your force of will is the big decider. You'll find the older the Sani Sabic, the Blood Raider loyalists tend to be prominent figures throughout the pilot community. They also tend to be the most vocal, although some of us prefer not to draw attention unless it's desired, like Cryshade. That's a player, I'm pretty sure. My first experience with Sani Sabic was the Blood Inquisition. Before that, I was just another girl in space. Mebrithil herself started out flying with the Glamour Bunnies, an entertainment corporation, but something that is a commonplace experience for many pilots was a life-shaping moment for her. I think it was getting shot down in low sec by a few pirates that flicked the switch in me. Instead of ranting and raving, I recognized the dominance of these killers and decided it was a path I would take. I researched various factions and pirate groups and found that the Bleaklands and the native Blood Raiders appealed to my tastes. I met Hira Razir and Goro Yubari, and they kind of raised me to be a pirate. I guess that's when I began my faith in earnest. And here we get to the key of it. The way of the faith, or philosophy by some, shapes the daily life of the Sani Sabic. For there is more to it than the dusty tomes and a lot of plastic sheeting, and involves every pilot's second favorite thing, guns. The best answer to that would be asking my corp mates and friends about my dollhouse. But put simply, I'm a killer, and I preach my faith through my guns. I don't mind ransoming, as it's my corporation's operation style. But if they don't pay for the pod, their corpse is mine. Mebrithil goes on to some pains to assure me that she is not, however, in some sort of corpse-molesting deviant. I have almost complete dibs on the corpses we expose through our work, but my use is completely innocent. I drain the corpses of blood for ritual purposes, and then I keep them as dolls. I guess I'm more hands-on with my rituals. I do them myself for me and my followers. I use my ritual practices to enforce my position among my followers and to keep them fanatically devoted, as they should be. Even knowing about the hierarchical nature of the Sani Sabic, finding out that Mebrithil has followers came as something of a surprise, as she flies for Vito, a Garistas-affiliated corporation. I pressed her on this, and she said, the Garistas are an unusual lot. While the Blood Raiders are friendly with them, I believe, though, Omir would have to back me on this, that it's a survival pact more than anything. While the Serpentis and Angels have business relations, the other three main pirate empires are alone in practice. The nation is a wild card, but seems to get along with the Gristas through what each like and dislike. They dislike everyone. But the Covenant has no desire to work with anyone, and most of their prominent figures perhaps even dislike the nation and Gristas because of their lack of faith, or sheer weirdness. I'm a little more practical to find my friends to often be such ideological alignments as the nation and the Gristas. Vito Corp supports the Gristas, and Izzy Chan's Niquam are friends and a strong supporter of the nation, if not the actual voice of Sancha, if you believe the rumors. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. I do, however, have fellow blooders amongst Vito ranks, with Leon 028 being my favorite. That man kills like it's an art form and a practice with more diplomatically astute form of Sani Sabek. You could speak with him, but if he's not busy killing something other than time, perhaps. And he still owes me a date. So there we have it. Being a Sani Sabek isn't about who you fight. It's about who you fly with. It isn't about who you fly with. It's about being who you are and being that person just as hard as you can with guns forever. All right, cool. So I think we have an idea of what the Blood Raiders are. So let's transition slightly. This is an honest content warning. This is actually kind of a weird video. It's still, you know, there's blood and stuff. So yeah.
The broadcast you are about to see is of graphical nature. Viewer discretion is advised.
Bloody Omer ran away, hiding from the light of day. Made a base out in the night, far away from the Empire's might. Holders think they all are safe, protected by the Empire's grace. Silly people, they should know. You shall reap just what you sow. Bloody Omer is coming back. Monsters from the endless black. Wading through the crimson flood. Omer has come to drink your blood.
Clearly made to ignite terror, it is confirmed that Omer Sarakusa is the person seen in this disturbing Blood Raiders broadcast. The identity and fate of his captives have not been disclosed. Amara authorities are urging its citizens to stay vigilant and not to give in to what they refer to as acts of heresy. This is Alton Havery, reporting for The Scope.
On October 20th, YC117, or 2015, we have the beginning of the Blood Raider Crimson Harvest event. The Crimson Harvest was the very first of these kinds of events. The Crimson Harvest ends up being the first often. It is the most consistent event in the history of EVE. And it often is, because of that, it tries to stay pretty simple, although it has gained some complexity over the years. It drops skins, it drops some Blood Raider stuff, it drops accelerators. This is actually where we first see cerebral accelerators, by the way. But it was the next year that Omer took his next step towards achieving power. Blood Raider Covenant, covert strike forces raid cloning facilities. Concord urges Capsuleers to destroy Raider bases. Uli Genesis. Multiple widespread raids have been carried out across New Eden by covert strike forces of the Blood Raider Covenant, according to emergency reports from all core empires in Concord. Earlier reports suggest that a large-scale operation against all four empires was carried out overnight by the covert raiding parties making use of specialized stealth nanocoatings. One report intercepted by the Scope sources indicate that the Blood Raiders operating under the designation Cold Iron used the nanocoatings to defeat military early warning systems. These raids are believed to have been taking place as Blood Raider leader Omer Sarakusa issued calls for Sani Sabek cults to rise up. Concord has confirmed that Blood Raider Covenant's forces have been engaged in military operations against members of the Concord Assembly and has issued a call for all independent Capsuleers to assist the DED and the Empires in striking back. The DED's General Ordu Koriachi has authorized the release of updated intelligence of Blood Raider Covenant bases, together with the issuing of an emergency update to scanning algorithms, making it possible for sensor systems to penetrate Cold Iron nanocoating. For his part, the Blood Raider Covenant, Omir Sarakusa, has continued to make open calls on the Sani Sabak cultists to rise up and seize, quote, pure flesh and blood in a new Crimson Harvest from military cloning facilities. Scattered reports indicate that commercial cloning facilities have been caught up in apparent Sani Sabak attacks. A source within the Minmatar Republic has told Scope that a military cloning facility in the northern Murka steppes has been attacked by blood cult terrorists, but the report is unconfirmed. So this is now the second. Hey, thank you for that, Ganai. So this is the second. What are their harvest boosters? I think. Hold on, let me see real quick. Radiance? I guess they're Radiance. Yeah, they're Radiance boosters. Okay, so then Concord urges all-out assault on Blood Raiders as attack on cloning facilities continue. Which leads to this news.
Of all recent Blood Raider attacks, none has gathered more attention than the one on the classified clone research station Alpha 49B. The Scope has acquired these fragments of footage from an investigative report carried out by the Republic Fleet.
Shuttle Val 1, cleared. Shuttle Val 1, proceed on target. Copy, Vormar moving in. Vormar, Shuttle Val 1 initiating cargo and bio scan. Shuttle Val 1, copy. Is the cargo intact? Negative, no cargo or life signs detected. Hull intact, preparing for breach. Approaching docking bay. Vormar, Val 1 docked. Boarding party disembarking. The ship was clearly boarded. Scorch marks everywhere. No bodies, though. We've reached the bridge. Only one body here. It's the captain. Or what's left of him. No sign of any other crew. Initiating startup. Systems online. Accessing ship's logs. Transmitting now.
Look at you. Look at yourselves and your pitiful, meaningless, and truly tragic existence. Yet fear not, for the days of harvest have come. Rejoice, for I shall give your life a purpose and usher you into the light of our covenant. Embrace your fate. You will be devoured. You will become one with me. Forever.
Little is known about the capital ship sighted escorting the Malak, other than the call sign of the Dreadnought Chemish, and a new class of force auxiliary which seems to have been labeled as the Dagon. This incident is just one of many that have caused rumors and speculations to spread across New Eden in these uncertain times when all the major powers are preparing for the expected influx of Alpha Capsuleers, a tide of new recruits that will undoubtedly tip the current balance of power. This is Lena Amber, reporting for The Scope.
All right. So that was the release of the Blood Raider Sodios. Blood Raiders deploy Advanced Shipyard, Upwell, and DED Silent as Capsuleers respond. The Blood Raider Covenants deployed an Advanced Shipyard based on Upwell Consortium Sodio platform, according to verified reports from Capsuleers operating in the period basis Nullsec region. Since being sighted on YC119 0512, reportedly by Theron Maracady of the Capsuleer Corporation, House Aratus of the Blood Raiders' heavily adapted Sodio has come under repeated attacks by various Capsuleer groups. So far, the Blood Raiders have repelled all assaults with powerful fleets and are evidently determined to defend the installation with maximum firepower. Seemingly an advanced shipyard possibly dedicated to capital ship production, The use by the Blood Raiders of an adapted Sodio-class engineering complex raises many questions. Despite repeated requests for comment, the Upwell Consortium and its security organization, the Department of Friendship and Mutual Assistance, has declined to comment. Even though they repeated efforts by the Capsuleers have so far ended with the Blood Raider installation remaining secure, pointing to the increased capability of power of the Blood Raider Covenant, the DED have also declined requests for comment. The formal threat assessment of the Blood Raider Covenant, published by the DED, remains unchanged as of yet. We'll get to her, actually. All right. Which leads to this.
Almost a week after its discovery, an Imperium fleet has successfully attacked the Blood Raider shipyard, putting it into reinforced mode. The shipyard was initially found by Capsuleer Theron Maricati while taking part in a large-scale Imperium search for it.
We were looking for it for about 2 days. The first day was to see potential places with higher activity than other places. On the second day, we tried to scour all the asteroid belts and using D-scan and common probes and everything. We went with only one pilot per system, and I was that lucky that I was assigned to the system that the SOTO was in. In that system, I definitely could see the hauler warp upgrade, so I checked my D-scan. I didn't see the hauler on D-scan anymore, but I could see them on my combat probes, so I definitely knew something was going on. And I actually managed to pin it down and walk to the thing. And yeah, it was pretty exciting walking to that. And when landing on grid and saying the magic words on our comms that I found it, oh yeah, it was really exciting.
In the past days, there have been some relatively small attacks made on the shipyard, but its formidable defenses have repelled them all. That is until last night, when an Imperium fleet consisting mainly of fast Punisher frigates, who, while flying at high speeds to avoid damage from defending Blood
That's right, they
Raiders,
cheesed the first
managed
one.
to inflict enough damage to the shipyard to put it into reinforced mode. The shipyard is located in the system of ETAC DOF2 in the region of Period Basis, a system controlled by the Red Alliance, and it would seem that the Imperium was granted permission to operate their fleet in the system. As the shipyard becomes vulnerable, the stakes will be high, as it is rumored to contain extremely rare and valuable technology which can possibly be acquired from the wreckage if the shipyard is destroyed. But the question everyone asks is, how can the Blood Raiders be defeated while keeping everyone else away at the same time? Earlier today, infuriated Blood Raider leader Omer Sarakusa broadcast the following chilling call to his supporters.
Empty is the night for the lost and the weak. How will you see with false faith blinding your eyes? How will you seize your destiny on bended knees? Lift yourselves up and look into your hearts. Is the blood that flows there pure? Or is it thin and corrupted by gold and the prattle of priests? Now is the time to shine in the light of the Red God. Now is the time to forge your destinies with blood and iron. The covenant of blood is the truth of the universe. A covenant is a beacon set among the stars. Our foundries will blaze with the red flame of construction as every new ship of war is baptized in blood and fire. Let our sacred work begin. Let our swords reap the harvest of the great truth. Become one with me in power and seize life eternal.
So as you can see, he's pretty chill. Yeah, so, you know, he took that well. Well, I don't remember about the first one, but yeah, stealing the blueprints was was a very common thing for a while. It was a big deal. All right. Concord Joint Commander Command announced successive Capsuleer assault on Blood Raiders as threat level is lowered. Uli Genesis. The Joint Command of Concord and Core Empires fighting against the Blood Raider Covenant attacks on cloning facilities has announced that its major offensive against the Blood Raiders have been a complete success, in part due to the efforts of independent Capsuleers. Captain Marshal Zerdan Sirkosh, Imperial Delegate to the Concord Inner Circle and Commander of Anti-Covenant Joint Operations, declared his, quote, total satisfaction that the threat from the Blood Raider cultists had been stamped out, end quote. Concord Inner Circle President Sari Okanaria expressed her, quote, gratitude for the tremendous assistance of independent Capsuleer community in the fight against these renegades, end quote. Concord DED has confirmed that investigation has been opened up in the interest of the Blood Raider Covenant new cloning technology and pursuing all avenues, including any leads as to those who may have collaborated with these terrorists. Pretty chill in the same energy as Dumbledore asked calmly. Yeah. Okay. So things go pretty okay until the next big thing is now we're into the main plotline stuff that we've been talking about a lot, right? This is how the Blood Raiders kind of factor into this. So during this Crimson Harvest in YC120, which is 2018, you see a return of the attacks by the Blood Raiders. So in this case, hold on. Yeah. Yeah. Major chemical weapon attacking Khana Kingdom. Queen Zidara's missing slave revolts reported. Kaha 3 Khana Kingdom. A series of major chemical attacks had been carried out in the Khana Kingdom system of Kaha. The strikes appear to have been timed to coincide with a tour of inspection by the facilities on Kaha 3 by Queen Zidares Khanid, consort of King Khanid III and Grand Admiral of the Royal Khanid Navy. Queen Zidares is said to be missing amidst the reports of widespread slave revolts in the system. While Khanid forces are attempting to impose planetary quarantines, reports suggest that a multi-pronged attack was carried out by weaponized psychotropic chemicals, and the focal point of the assault was the garrison of the 5th Ulan Guards based in the city of Damask in Kaha 3. The garrison was being visited by Queen Zidares as part of a tour and inspection of the Khana Kingdom's food security, a major concern owing to the increasing threats to shipping across New Eden. The chemical weapon strikes were carried out principally against targets of the agricultural world in Kaha 3, but also took place throughout the system on vital food production center for the kingdom. Kaha 1, one's major agricultural centers in the equatorial belt of the ocean world were significant secondary targets and were scattered attacks on slaveholdings throughout the settled planets of the system. Late-breaking reports from a failed attempt to strike the Kaha 7 central deep core mining facility indicate that the chemical weapons used against the facility but failed to have a serious effect, possibly due to the industrial body, armor, and breathing apparatus in use at the site. Counterfire from forces belonging to Ikomari Onyu enforcement military contractors is reported to have brought down several attacking ships. Khana Kingdom's news sources indicate that King Farouk Khanid III is monitoring the situation from a secure location and has placed Sadar Marshal Soshan Fayez, commander of the feared 7th Asbara Cyber Knights, in charge of pacifying the Kaha system. The 7th Asbara are infamous throughout the kingdom and beyond for the brutal suppression of the Bashiam 4 slave revolt in YC97 and saw extensive action during the kingdom's slave revolt of YC110. Sadar Marshal Fayez is a former Ulan Guard general and thrice scarred cyber knight, known to be a member of King Farouk's inner court. While the scope is unable to obtain comment from the Royal Khanid Court or Sadar Marshal Fayez, the Khanid plenipotentiary represent... I have no idea what that word is. Plenipotentiary representative Sub Baron Alar Chakade, hey, our good buddy Chakade, was available to give his view on the situation. Quote, "We know who is responsible for this act. Minmatar rebels, Amar traitors, blood cultists, subversive capsuleers who treat our enemies. There be no doubt that the consequences of this latest outrage to be vast and terrible. First, we shall wade into the blood of our slaves who has risen against us. My own 19th Royal Ulans are even now mobilized in support of the pacification forces. The taint that has been spread in Kaha by our enemies shall be cleansed with fire and steel." Second, if it transpires that Her Grace Queen Zidares has fallen to this latest evil, there will be a reckoning with the vile insects that gnaw at the inners of the Holy Amar Empire and the Khane Kingdom. Let them pray to their heathen idols and false spirits. The Queen lives yet. If she does not, they will reap a harvest of woe. The scope will report further as the situation develops. And it did develop mostly to show that, like, it was an Inserum mixed with the Death Glow. That was this drug that had been created by the Blood Raiders based on the what were we talking? What we were showing off last time, where so in the Crimson Harvest there is the establishment of a thing called chronodynamic tricarboxyls. Did I miss it? Oh yeah, never mind. Chemical weapon attacks were carried out 2 days ago across several planets of the Kaha system. The weaponized chemicals are reported to have been analyzed and incorporate the drug Death Glow, a hallucinogenic derivative of the rare mineral chronodynamic tricarboxyls and the mutagenic booster Inserum. The later is known to neutralize the effects of phytotoxins used to pacify and control slaves in the Amar Empire. So what they did was they took the stimulant that is used in cerebral accelerators and mixed it with Inserum, and out of this comes this incredibly crazy powerful bath salt style drug known as Death Glow. And we see the rise of the Death Glow hunters, and the attacks by the Blood Raiders take on a much more like Death Glowy kind of vibe. Most recently, the Death Glow hunters have actually allied themselves with the Intaki Death Cult. Inebra cult. And of course, the queen was eventually discovered, or the queen was not killed. She was found alive. And that leads us to the last couple of Crimson Harvest. Basically, what we see now is first we had the Order of First we had the Silver Hands, which are a group of Artichoper Sorum soldiers, and Doomsday the planet via Titan during the Dread attacks. Yeah. So unfortunately I wasn't able to get all of this stuff like set up today. There's not enough time, but to kind of bring in fact, we might actually have to leave this as like part one, and then we'll talk about the Dread attacks and some other stuff in another time. But the short of it is that hold on, where were we? Oh, you're 1 hour late? Yeah. Oh, hold. Okay. So let's see. Do we have more story? I forget if I still have stuff. I thought there was like a more recent Blood Raider Covenant. Let's see. Okay. Also, like I kind of mentioned earlier, the Blood Raiders were intimately involved in the destruction of the Zerafect weapon, which caused the Apocrypha event. They were attempting to recover Jamil's weapon in order to cause the Great Harvest, and in the end, a Thucker ship ends up killing them all. As in, like, shooting the super weapon, causing them all to be eradicated. Trying to think if gosh darn it. Okay, so so the Silver Hand begins conflict with the Blood Raiders, and that's when the Crimson Harvest takes on that like pick which side you want to be part of. Whereas in the recent years and this year, our enemy is going to be well, not the Blood Raiders' enemy, not our enemy, but the Blood Raiders are going to be fighting the Order of Saint Tetramon. So if we look at some skins, so this is probably going to be the skins that we will be getting for this event, but not necessarily the exact skins? Actually, let me check Hobo Leaks to see whether or not we can see which ones we're going to get. I think we can. Hold on. Oh, before actually any of that, I do want to highlight, before we move on from Blood Raiders altogether, I do want to highlight one more piece of Blood Raider lore that I think is really fun. You know, there's been a lot of like melodrama and blood and pain and whatnot today, so I just want to talk a little bit about a singer. So there is a singer named Midna. Midna is a very popular Ni-Kuni immigrant. Oh, sorry. Never mind. She is a... Oh, no, I don't have... I don't think I have her history thing, but either way. In going all the way back to 2008, we have Blood Raider rumor continue to hound Midna. Following the allegations that she's a Blood Raider sympathizer, pop star Midna's image continues to be questioned by people across the cluster. Though Midna had denied that she is a Blood Raider or has anything to do with them, signs continue to point to some connection with their religion. Hedrick Marr, the Ni-Kuni immigrant who originally brought forth the allegations, has taken the charge in organizing boycotts of protests of Midna's concert. At a recent concert in Oslo, around 600 protesters ringed a small club, nearly matching the number of people inside seeing the concert. Marr was on hand holding a sign reading, "No blood, no music." Similar chants occasionally broke out, especially once Midna's vehicle arrived. The protesters had only a brief glimpse of Midna before she was whisked inside by security, but that didn't stop them from shouting insults, and a few of them hurling water balloons filled with red paint at her. According to Marr, the protest show, quote, "The people of the Federation won't tolerate the intolerable, no matter where it comes from. Midna may be a pretty face, but that doesn't excuse that she sings about being a Blood Raider. They are monsters through and through." Midna, for her part, has remained silent to their criticism outside of the brief statement a week ago where she denied all involvement with the Blood Raiders. Her only commentary since has been the occasional comment during a concert, such as what she said during the Oslo concert. "They don't know what they're talking about," she shouted before performing her latest single, Dream States. Reports from concertgoers also paint a confusing picture. During the recent concert, one fan reported that Midna was seen to be drinking blood. Some other concertgoers challenged the report, claiming it was nothing more than a glass of wine. "Whatever it was," said one young fan, Jarius Lore, "it was red and thick. It wasn't wine, that's for sure. But was it blood? I don't know. The lighting was dim and colored. The air was smoky. And I wasn't exactly paying attention to her drink, you know?" When asked what he would do if Midna turned out to be a Blood Raider, Lore commented, quote, "We like her music and we liked her music when she was a teenage drug addict. She's clean and even better than ever. Why should we care if she's into some weird religion?" The most controversial evidence against Midna, however, was a series of pictures taken by paparazzi for the Laver Sun Post, a well-known tabloid. The pictures clearly show Midna meeting with a man dressed in red robes. The man, identified in the papers as Apostle Amen Indrid, a Sanisabic priest, spent nearly 2 hours at Midna's hotel room while Midna was staying at the Modern Finances Station in Lavriere. Midna could not be reached for comment about this meeting. Hedrick Marr, when notified of these pictures, merely considered it more proof of Midna's guilt. "She even meets with their priests. What more evidence do people need? She should be banned from performing and spreading her sick messages to others." Officially, Midna did nothing illegal. The Blood Raiders' faith is legal under the Freedom of Religion Clause in the Federation's Constitution. Quote, "As long as she's not breaking any laws through the practice of her faith, there's nothing we can be done with her," says Rand Windia, an expert on religion in the Federation. Quote, "And really, there's nothing that should be done. The Federation is founded on freedom. Freedom of belief should be the most sacrosanct of those freedoms." End quote. Others, however, are unconvinced. Hedrick Marr reports that the information portal of his organization, Federation Citizens Against Midna, has received more than 1 billion visitors, with at least half of those leaving messages of support. And her top singles, "Let It Flow." Hey. All right. Reactions mixed, extreme following Midna's revelation. So this is a month later. Days after pop star Midna Lyre's revelation that she is a follower of the Sani Sabic faith, reactions across the cluster has been mixed. They range from precise cries of disgust. They range from praise to cries of disgust with little in between. The Amar Empire has officially banned possession of the album inside of its border, declaring it heretical. As with all heretical materials, possession of it inside of the Empire is considered a capital offense, punishable by a life of slavery or death. The move only increases the criminal penalty for owning the album, as it was previously considered contraband, as with most forms of Federation entertainment. The move was mirrored inside of the Amatar Mandate in Kana Kingdom, which did not have bans on the album prior to Midna's announcement. Of the three, only the Kana Kingdom made an official announcement about the ban, calling it for the Federation to, quote, in the spirit of interstellar harmony, ban the Blood Raider album and arrest and punish all involved in its creation, end quote. They then went on to call the album, quote, a dangerous piece of fanatical propaganda that would inevitably lead towards a resurgence of the foul Blood Raider cult that we have worked so hard to exterminate, end quote. In a move that shocked some legal experts, the Minmatar Republic Department of Interstellar Commerce placed the album on its limited ban list. The RDIC invoked a rarely used law that allowed them to restrict the trade items that many contain content that is harmful to the well-being of the Minmatar people, without any parliamentary action. The ban only applies to the sale and distribution of the album, not its possession, with the only penalty for offenses being minor fines, leaving the ban mostly a symbolic gesture. Opinions inside of the Republic are split regarding the move, though many are in agreement with it. Quote, the Blood Raiders are just the Amar, but worse, said Joris Mack, a member of the Republic Customs. Continuing, this Minna girl says that she's not into all their hate and stuff, but the Amar said slavery was for our own good too. A minority opinion is to the contrary. Hey, it's just music, said Kara Jant, a nightclub owner in Rennes. And it's got a pretty good beat to it. I've heard a few remixes that are really good for dancing. The kids really seem to like it too. Banning makes us no better than the Amar, trying to stamp out free speech and all that. Don't see why we should follow their example. The Republic Parliament, in response to the RDIC move, is expected to meet on Monday to discuss the issue. Many expect the ban to be lifted once they are through, though public sentiment seems to run to the contrary. Prime Minister Karen Midgeler has not commented on their issue, though her press staff released a statement calling the situation an issue to be determined by the Parliament. The Caldari state has yet to take any action regarding the revelation, though there have been some minor calls from Echelon Entertainment to ban the album. Most experts assume this is related to the distribution deal NOH has with the album in Caldari space rather than any moral reasons. Quote, quite frankly, the issue of religion is unimportant to the majority of Caldari citizens, said Scylla Iwi, a spokesperson for NOH. Quote, as long as the album continues to sell, it will remain available for purchase. The most fierce debate has been inside of the Federation, with no official action regarding the album has taken place. Hedrick Marr, a man responsible for the initial controversy around Midna's religion, considers the news a good sign. Quote, now that she's open about her sick faith, it makes our job of getting rid of her much easier, he said at a rally outside of the largest interspace store in Arcelert. Midna must not be allowed to continue to spread her poisonous message. Her concerts should be banned. Her albums should be banned. And she should be banned! A crowd of 500 chanted shouts of support. The anti-Midna sentiment is not held only by Amar immigrants to the Federation, however. Jessup Khan, a citizen of the Federation who traces his lineage back to pre-spaceflight Gallente Prime, also expresses concern about the album. Hey, I agree everyone should be able to believe what they want, but the Blood Raiders aren't just a religion. They're also pirates and killers. People are liable to get hurt because of this, and that's not right, no matter what. Though a minority, Cohn's feelings are still widely held. In a recent Scope poll, 38% of the Federation citizens said that they would support restricting the sale of Midna's album to adults. 45% say that they would support placing a warning label on the albums, while 22% support banning the sale of the album entirely. In contrast, 84% of those polled said that they supported Midna's right to practice Sani Sabic rituals. 80% said they do not care about Midna was a Sani Sabic follower, and 54% indicated that they would be fine with a friend or family practicing the religion. I still love Midna, said Jan Sauer, a fan. Quote, she's the best. I'd never heard about the Sani Sabic before all this. I mean, sure, I knew that the Blood Raiders, what the Blood Raiders were, but not the Sani Sabic stuff. But now I've been looking into it. It's actually pretty interesting. I'm trying to find out if there's any of their churches around here. Sales of Lifeblood, which has begun to slow down in recent months, spiked following Midna's announcement. Quote, I just wanted to see what all the controversy was about, said Ilya Wylian, a student at the University of Cali. Quote, the music is actually pretty good. I might have to go to a concert if she comes around. Egonix Incorporated, the main distributor of Midna's music outside of the Federation, has reaffirmed its commitment to the music. Quote, Egonix does not believe in the restriction of free speech, especially when it comes to the expense of artistry. As always, those who do not wish to hear Midna's music can remove the songs from their playlists. To deny the billions who enjoy her music the joy of hearing it, simply because others object to it, is censorship of the worst kind. So, and then a few months later, 2 months later, attempt made on Midna's life during concert, Luminaire. During her concert on Caldari Prime, Midna was shot in the stomach at point-blank range by an assailant who then committed suicide. Midna was rushed to the hospital where she is in serious but stable condition as DED agents attempt to piece together the evidence of the night. Approximately midway through her set, Midna briefly halted her concert to perform a ritual that has now become commonplace in her act. She called the 5 members of her fan club who has been previously selected by her security onto stage. The fan club members were engaged in a blood exchange ritual with Midna, an act that has become quite coveted among her fans. As the 3rd member of the fan club approached Midna, he drew a weapon and pointed it at her. DED officials in the crowd who were present watching the Blood Raider recruiters credit the fast reaction of venue security for saving Midna's life. One security guard charged the gunman and hit him right as he fired, redirecting the shot away from any vital organs. As security and DED officers swarmed the stage, the gunman managed to point the weapon at his own head and pull the trigger. Midna was immediately airlifted to a nearby hospital where she was stabilized. There is expecting to be no lasting damage. The DED officers cooperated with local police officials in taking statements from fans and security personnel, then turned over official investigation to the local authorities. The gunman was identified through DNA analysis as Lucius Zant, an Amarian with long criminal record. He has been seen in civilized space 3 years ago as he fled Amarian officials into nullsec space at the Iridia Fountain border. Police are unsure as to his motive, though strong evidence points to being religiously motivated. Whether he was an agent of the Blood Raiders or as a lone zealot of the Amarian religion is still up for debate. It is believed that Zant replaced the member of the fan club expected to participate in the ritual. The fan club member, Let Kazuma, has not been found, and police are proceeding under the belief that foul play may be involved. Midna has yet to make a public statement, and her representatives say it will be some time before she is able to speak to reporters. The rest of Midna's tour has been canceled. So then that leads to an interview, or sorry, this is after. There was an interview between Midna and the Scope news agency, like Miss Kang. Oh, who is it? I guess the Interstellar Correspondence. But there's a 2-part interview. I'm not going to read the whole thing right now, where they go into a lot of her stuff. So the question is, like, what happened to this girl, right? Well, we see her again in 2020, in January 7th, so YC122. Flowswin 4 Occupation and Inner Circle Peace Summit Dominant New Year YC122. So at the new year, as we rolled over into 2020, before we all knew that we were all going to stay inside for a while, we had the fighting over Flowswin by the Amar. This was like the big Chalkade stuff, and, you know, it was a whole thing. But while this is all going on, we do see Midna Lyre's Red album sells millions of copies over festival period. Critics hail new songs as new peak for Sonny Sabic genre. And then later on, in in YC 123 to 124, so what? The next year at New Year's again. Sorry, a year later, I guess. How does time work? Yeah, because one's at the beginning of 2020, the other's at the end of 2022 or 21. We see outrage as shipments of Midna Lyre's rock opera arias on Crimson Chalice intercepted in the Bleaklands, Amar. The Bleaklands. Amar authorities have protested in the strongest terms to the Concord Assembly, Gallente Federation, and Minmatar Republics following their seizure of multiple shipments of the controversial rock star Midna Lyre's latest album in transit across the Bleaklands from Minmatar-occupied systems. The rock opera Arias on a Crimson Chalice is an adaptation of the notorious Omer Saracusa's Meditations on a Crimson Chalice and is the veteran Sonny Sabic artist's most controversial work to date, being explicitly based on the collective musings of the criminal Blood Raider Covenant sect leader. Sara Military Circuit spokesman Lord Khatib Olakar Zerzorum condemned the, quote, outrageous dissemination of vile Saracusian blood rhetoric by tribal rebels sponsored by the terrorist Shakor regime. The Republic Hetman General Kenneth Filmer responded, quote, as usual, the Amar cried their hot, salty tears over some words that they don't like, despite building their own corrupt empire out of bricks mortared by the blood of our people. It's contemptible. And then, of course, finally, we have in 2023, so YC125, March 24th, where is it? Midna Lyre announces new tour of Minmatar Republic in protest of Treaty of Pashanai and solidarity with the Matari people. So, go forth, Midna Lyre. I want to listen to her music. Who wants to listen to her music? Comment below, like the stream, if you want to listen to her hot new album. What is it? Ballads of a Chalice, whatever it was. Arias on a Crimson Chalice. I want CCP needs to release this. I need this in my life, like really bad. Yeah, so that's pretty much the setup for the Crimson Harvest. On Thursday, we'll probably be going over, like, I'll be showing off the sites. Let's talk a little bit about what we're going to be expecting. If we go back to HoboLeaks. Oh my God. What are you doing? What's happening? There it is. Okay. Yeah, so the Radiant Cerebral Boosters are going to be the main accelerators. We have Anti-Disruptor, Nosferatu, Web of Fire. So we've got Harvest Boosters and Tetramon Boosters. So chances are, so you will get Tetramon Boosters for siding with the Tetramon for completing the track. However, it's very, very possible and likely, I think, that the Tetramon boosters will drop in the same Tetramon sites, whereas, of course, the Harvest boosters will be dropping in the Harvest sites. You have a Web of Fire bonus, a Nosferatu bonus, and an Anti-Disruptor bonus, which is like a protection against weapon disruption. And then, of course, just a damage booster for energy turrets and a... Yeah. And then, of course, not of course, but... And then on the Tetramon side, we have a booster against, or that gives energy warfare resistance, which means basically Nosses and Newts. They have the capacitor bonus, which gives them better capacitor. They have the resistance bonuses, which is all armor resistances. The precision bonus, which is optimal range and tracking speed for energy turrets. And that's it, I guess. Right? Yeah. So those are the different drugs that will be available. Obviously, these things are not going to all be on the same slot, so you can't run them all at the same time. Oh. My bad. Oh, that's weird. Okay, I'm sorry. You're right. I'm sorry. I thought that the pages were right. Whatever. Yep. I messed up. So you didn't get to see any of the Midna things, more or less. But that's okay. Because the Midna things, I read them all. My bad. Yikes. All right. Okay. All right. So, and then we have Imicus, Helios, Talos, Dominix, Sin, Hubris, Moros, Magnate, Anathema, Harbinger, Absolution, Apocalypse, Paladin, Bane, Revelation, Heron, Buzzard, Ferox, Vulture, Roke, Karura, Phoenix, Probe, Cheetah, Tornado, Maelstrom, Valraven, Naglfar, Vedmak, Thunderchild, Stratios, Garmer. This is a lot of them. And that's it. All of these are Deathglow Remnant. That's odd. So, and then this says that they'll all be applied directly when redeemed. This means a couple of things. This could mean a couple of things. So normally I would expect there to be Blood Raider skins and, or at least, what are they called? Not Cold Iron. Iron Blood? Yeah, Iron Blood skins for the Crimson, for the Blood Raider side, and Tetramon skins for the Amar side. But this is a lot of skins for a login reward. I don't know, man. They might be trying to use this for the track as well. We're just gonna have to see about that. But let's go ahead and look at the skins as it is. All right. Was it Deathglow Hunters? Hold on. No, Deathglow Remnant. Okay, so it's this copy. I'm just going to double check that none of those are repeated. No. Looks all new. Okay, so let's go ahead and see this. Show skins I don't have. So probably most of these skins are the skins for that we're looking at. So, in fact, let's go ahead and just double check. Absolution. Yep. So this is probably the skins that we were looking for, because I'm pretty sure I had all of them up until this point. So the Deathglow Remnant skin is one of those skins that you either really like or you really don't. It's got a lot of shininess in the red. It's got the yellow and the red effects. And you're right, it does look good on some ships more than others, probably, is a good way of putting it. But we got... Can I just... Hold on. Again, you gotta like the color yellow, I suppose. I'm actually really surprised that we're not going to see... Like, I hope we do see more Cold Iron... Or not Cold Iron, but Iron Blood skins. So these are my favorite skins. And I talked about this last year, and I'll talk about it more if we get there. And it turns out to be relevant. But, like, these have been some of my favorite skins forever. And they finally started coming out with them in Crimson Harvest. So that's why I've sided with the Blood Raiders for the last 2 years, because these skins are, in my opinion, very hot. But yeah, I'll be very disappointed if we don't have Blood Raider, or either Blood Raider or Iron Blood skins available for Crimson Harvest. That said, we do have more of these Deathglow Remnant skins. Let's look at let's look at the Paladin. Post in chat if you want me to look at a specific one. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the yellow. The skins from last year's reward track should drop this year. I mean, I've never seen them do such a thing, but maybe. You know, the Garmer works, I guess. That works all right. Tristan? Is the Tristan on the list? Hold on. No, the Tristan's not on the list, so it might not come this month or this year. No, it's not. Nope, there's no Tristan. Yeah, would work better as gold. Vedmak? This seems to have the particle effects going on of, meat grinder. So what I'm saying here is when I'm looking at this, I would assume that this particle effect in the front, as well as these little stars at the top here, those won't likely be part of the final product. Likewise, the lightning won't either. That's from the Singularity Storm. Thunderchild's one of the new ones that they just showed off. Probably because it honestly looks pretty good. Valraven. I mean, okay. Okay. Really leaning in on the bloody banana motif. Love how it changes in shades of red. Yeah, I mean, I really do like the highly reflective nature of the red. But probably not enough to really put up with the yellow too much. That actually looks pretty cool. That looks pretty cool. God, I just want an all red one. I want like a... Wait. No. I want a... the Kybernaut Clade skin for the Stradio. So bad. Wait. No, you can't get bloody banana out of your head? Well, there you go. Yeah. I wonder how they'll split the skins between two tracks if they look the same. It's weird, right? I wonder if it'll be like your race. Because, like, they're... Let's see. We have... Heron, Magnate, Probe, and Buzzard. So we have... Wait. Okay, and... Sorry, Buzzard, Anathema, Cheetah, Helios, Heron. So T1 and T2 exploration frigates all got them. As far as battleships go, we have the Sin. Where's the Caldari one? RoAch? That's so weird. Wait, so does that mean there's no T2 one? So yeah, that's really weird. Okay, so for the Gallente, they have the Dominix. For the Amar, they have the Apocalypse. And for the Mimitar, they have the Maelstrom. But that means that the Sin and the Paladin have them because they're T2. But the Maelstrom and the RoAch don't have a T2. So those races don't get a T2 battleship one. Do they get anything else? They get the battle... so then there's the Absolution with the Harbinger. So they're doing the T1 and T2 of all the things that are there. Ferox versus Vulture. But then you have Tornado. I guess that makes up for... you have the... And the Talos. So you have the Tornado and the Talos, but not the other two. I wonder if it's because of missing piece or like pieces that are already been put in. And then of course the Moros and the Hubris. There isn't like a racial parity pattern that I can see across the board. Revelation and Bane, Karuka and Phoenix, but not Hubris. Oh no, there is Hubris. What's the third one? Valraven? Yeah, it's there too. Okay, so all three of the Dreadnoughts and their T2 equivalent. Deathglow Hunter is not that yellowish. That's correct. Remnant was way more yellow. Any T3Cs? I don't see any T3Cs. So also there will be potentially there should be a sale for the Malagran Marshlight, which I have on the Paladin. Oops. The Malagran Marshlight is a green, light green and dark green skin with this kind of flashing Halloween thing. Oh, shoot. Hold on. Hold on. I'm out. There you go. Now it's not getting chroma keyed. Hilo with the Deathglow Hunters. Oh, Deathglow Hunter. Yes, Deathglow Hunter is different. But let's see. I don't know if they're... Did they add in any new ones this year? I'm not sure. We'll have to see. But this is going to be the skin that is for sale. There have been some people that have been waiting on this, so this is the one time of the year to get these Malagran Marshlight skins. And all of that should be starting probably Thursday. However, as I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, the effects of Crimson Harvest, including the 90% loot drop, is active now. So be careful. Gankers are going to be able to gank and have a better chance of like collecting more of the loot, as well as you know, people can go and do dangerous things, and in the event that they die, as long as they can recover their stuff, you'll be able to recover more of your stuff. So yeah, and we're going to be getting ready for the Crimson Harvest. There's still deathless stuff going on, including getting the Mecha Ball and the Mamba skins, is participating, getting the different elements and everything. If you want to get in on that, please go ahead and check out our Discord. We're kind of getting things together, and I think on Thursday we're going to be doing more. We're going to start doing the hives, though. As I said, like we're observing what's going on as we advance towards the deathless with the invited. If you're interested in this kind of content, I'd strongly recommend you consider putting at least an alt within the Convocation of Empyreans or the Uninvited. You can apply in-game or on our website, aderon.org, and you can get more information on our Discord, which is linked below. And also, you can find a link to the Discord on aderon.org. Also, I can't remember what else I was going to say about that. Yeah. The gankers are going to gank, yeah. So, yes, they added gate guns with missiles, target painting, and jams. You can get... if you attack somebody in Zarzak, you get a retribution timer. So basically the first person to aggress gets a retribution timer. So think of them just like normal gate guns, sort of, that jam. You put in an app a few days ago. Please DM me in Discord if you still need information, or if you need to get you in. The problem is I'm getting some applications and I'm trying to make sure that like everybody's at least hooked in. Not all of our systems are ready to like do everything automatically yet, so I'm still having to do a lot of stuff manually. Yeah. You get jammed by gate guns and Zarzak? What WTF? Because Garissas. Is there some lore about 90% drop, or is it just Bob's will? I don't think that there's ever been like a hand wavy reason why the drop rate is increased. It's very much like an out of game trick or treat kind of feel to it. It actually goes back to, hold on. This tradition goes back to, let's see. Nope, this is later. Dang it. This was in 2020, so this was the second year of the Crimson Harvest. This way. Hold on a second. Yeah, Howling Interceptors. That's what it was called. So it all began with the Howling Interceptors update, which was put in the early days of like Team Rise's Team Talos. What is happening? Why is this browser being so weird? Hold on. What? Ah, never mind. Whatever that is. Okay, so this was the original one in 2019. They had 100% PvP drops. But then the next year in 2020, they did 90% drops. So it's been 90% drops ever since. There was also proving grounds, which I doubt they'll do again. I don't know. And then sales and other stuff like that. And the Marshlight skins. So yeah. If you're interested in getting into the Crimson Harvest, it will be alpha friendly insofar as you can run them. I would recommend getting ready to do them in a Praxis or at least a Gnosis, battle cruisers and battleships. The Praxis will help you get into it without using any piloting skills. You only need, or like ship piloting skills. You only need weapons to use large weapons. There's also going to be data sites to hack and ways to kind of circumvent the second room, so that way you can race against other people without it being taken over. Though those of us who have like paladins or other marauders and assault command ships will likely be busting out those in order to run all the sites. Will we put up some fits for the combat sites? Likely. Although I imagine that this event is not going to be any different than last year. Outside of like, we'll have to figure out where the harder sites are going to spawn. That's like the big question. But other than that, like any of the information that we have from last year will be there this year, and there'll likely be community fits and stuff like that too. But yeah, we'll make sure to have some fits recommendation. All right, well, I think that should probably just about cover it for the day. Here is your guide to the Blood Raiders and the Crimson Harvest, so that way you know what's going on before it even gets started, because that's what we do here. Put even to context for you, my fellow Empyreans. So, with all that said, I am Ashrathi. I've been playing this game since 2010, talking about it since 2012, and I'm here to put even to context for you, my fellow Empyreans. Thank you guys so much for coming. Thank you for watching. Thank you for liking the stream. You did like the stream. Commenting and subscribing. You did comment and subscribe, right? Everything that you guys do to support the channel, sharing it with others, because we are here to maximize player engagement and increase EVE Online literacy and EVE Online amongst the player base to make a better game for us all. Thank you to everyone who helps this happen, all of my staff and crew, in-game and out, If you want to help us reward them, you can, and you need 1 million free SP, and you've never used one of the buddy referral links, please go look down below. There should be a link that will give you, that will send you to a place where if you log in, you get 1 million free SP, and one of our staff gets some cool rewards that help them go, and it helps out with the show. And in-game, which you can join and participate with both of those. I'm looking for everything from in-game help to out-of-game help, editors, etc. And yeah, but of course, I would be remiss if I didn't help thank my, in particular, my top sponsors of Abyssus, Aikawarazu Chan, Arkas Ilring, Belligerent Neckbeard, Black Rose Noble, Dajat Lemmont, Drake, Federation Frontline, Jay Kuhn, Lumi, Midnight Space Monkey, Milk, Not Just Fun, Seeds Aplenty, Serenolin with No Eyes, Shodanar, Syliana Vel'ash, Tgen Tgen, Nephilim, Grendel, Yantey Lepouf, Zaul Nex, Zero, as well as my Immortal Tier patrons, or supporters, 745 MPSI, Arydanika the Queen, Ebo Elite, May, Malak Starfire, Merc Utan, Neelam, LM1, Sheesh, and Rid. Thank you all so much. And also, I want to call out Ganai for giving away a sub earlier, or a membership earlier. That was very kind of you. And all of you who support the stream through your memberships, your patrons, all that kind of stuff. Or, you know, like I said, just watching it, liking it, and all that sort of stuff. It's all a huge help. But without further ado, I have been Ashrothi, the voice of New Eden. And until next time, I'll see you in space.
Bring on the wrecking machine. For every city